Hello and welcome, fellow panel chewers. Welcome to Page Chewing, and welcome to the Pick of the Week podcast, where Jarrod and I discuss the books we pulled this week, and we end the show with our favorite book. And then after that, we are going into our, group read, which is the Frank Miller run on Daredevil. And we picked this because it's free on Libby and Hoopla. And all you need to join those platforms is a library card. Take advantage of it. We say this every single week. This week we are reading issues 171 and 172. We read 2 issues per week. And we invite you to read along with us. It's our first time reading Frank Miller's run on Daredevil. It's been fun. So Jarrod, with all that said, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. You're right. It has been fun. Delving into something I never read in the past. So
yeah, I hear people talking about it all the time, and it's been on my list it was actually bought it digitally a long time ago, and it's sitting it's sat on my iPad for forever. And I would see it all the time, so I'm glad we picked it because it's like finally it's good to read it. I have some motivation to pick it up. Yeah. But we'll get to that here at the end. But we'd like to start off the show with a topic, and this week we were trying to think of an idea, and we discussed a lot of, I guess, what most people would consider indie books, and not a lot of other podcasts do. I used to listen to iFanboy back in the 2010s a lot, and some other podcasts, and they talked mostly about Marvel and DC. And I didn't mind being spoiled on those because I didn't plan on reading them. So it was more just listening to them talk about comics. But we were just discussing a couple of things, but I was watching a YouTube video this week from a channel that was discussing indie books and how to get kind of the state of indie, and they were talking about creators who don't do indie anymore, and they were naming off creators who actually do indie. Still, they have their creator-owned books, and they also do work for Marvel or DC, which there's nothing wrong with that, of course. You have to make some money, and it's good to get your name out and all that stuff. So, not throwing shade or anything, but there are lots of great creators doing indie books, lots of great stuff coming out of the creators, the creative sphere on self-published and small press and things like that. And if you listen to the show, you know that we mostly read smaller press. I think the only book I can think of that is kind of the more popular stuff is like the Titan Conan stuff. But we dabble in once in a while to some of the absolute books and things like that. But Jarrod, you mentioned a video you had seen this week about market share and books, and wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know where like Titan falls into the sphere as far as I guess there'd be a small press publisher compared to Marvel and DC. But anyways, I was watching. I saw a video on the rise of basically Bone, the comic book Bone, and I can't remember his name now, but the creator of that book, Jeff Smith, and it went into the how he got involved with Scholastic books, and he was very insistent on not compromising his vision for the book. Scholastic wanted to kind of make it more geared towards kids than it already was. It's more of an all ages book once you get into it and start reading further in. And he wanted to keep it that way. And he stuck to his guns, and Scholastic backed down and actually published it. And it started a new graphic novel format for Scholastic books. And it really took off. And today, for the graphic novel format, Scholastic Books has a huge percentage of the market. Just graphic novels, not single issue stuff. Single issue stuff, I think Marvel and DC is still still king.
Yeah.
But as far as sales of graphic novels, it's Scholastic, and then it's all the manga, the Viz Media, which distributes all the manga. Um, and those shares are huge compared to Marvel and DC, which is like only like 5% of the
Wow.
market each. Um, and I found that fascinating, because I get a lot of my we buy single issue comics. We discuss single issue comics for the
Mm.
most part, here on the podcast, and we're big fans of a lot of indie creative stuff. Um, and I just don't know when this stuff is collected, how it fits into that market and that goal, because I still think that stuff like Dark Horse, Image, Titan, those well known, still smaller press publishers, uh, their market share is even smaller, and you wonder how they could break into that
Hmm.
Scholastic, chunk, and or do we even want them to? I don't know.
Good
um,
question. Yeah.
yeah. So it's I just found that the video fascinating, and that information was really fascinating. Uh,
Yeah. I wonder how to get more people into reading more creator owned or, or indie stuff, smaller press. When I say that, I mean American comics that aren't Marvel or DC. It's a tough business to get into, and it's while comics seem to be overall on an uptick. How do we get more people reading the smaller indie stuff? Because I've always read more indie, and I used to struggle finding a podcast that talked about more of the indie stuff. So it's funny that we do that, but it's a tough market to break into.
yeah, but it's a tough market to make a living at, I would think.
Hmm.
Um, self-publishing especially, it's
Yeah,
really hard.
yeah. Thinking back to The Walking Dead and the height of The Walking Dead, I would imagine I'd have to look at the numbers, but I would imagine that because it was an Image title, I would imagine that we saw an uptick in sales for The Walking Dead, and I wonder how much of that spilled out into other titles, like, other Image titles or Dark Horse or Oni Press or things like that.
Mm.
So if something
Yeah,
like The Walking Dead can't make a huge leap for smaller, Image, Mad Cave, things like that. I wonder what could change the perception. I think some people are just intimidated or don't know much about them. So,
right. Yeah, I mean, I know Walking Dead being in black and white, I think, as in the original run of it,
mm,
um, did help with some sales of like even smaller press self-published stuff that was in black and white. I know it helped the sales of stuff like from Abstract Studios, Terry Moore's, um, Strangers in Paradise,
mm,
and Rachel Rising and stuff like that. But that was a limited assistance. It didn't last forever, and even today I see Terry Moore from Abstract doing Kickstarters and and still trying to keep his brand going. But so you wonder, how long some of these creators can keep doing this stuff without some of the that type of funding out there.
mm. Yeah, it's a tough business to break into. I'd love to talk to someone from a smaller press, and we've invited a couple of presses. We've reached out, and we're hoping to get them on at some point. But I would love to hear more about the ins and outs of publishing, and
Mhm.
the costs and printing and paying the creators and the whole process from start to finish. So, yeah, if anyone's listening and they have ideas on how to get more people reading more indie creator own stuff, love to hear your thoughts on that. All right. So feel a little depressed after after kind of talking about it.
Well,
Yeah.
we certainly do our part here, I think, and
Yeah.
I I gladly support those ventures. So
Yeah. Yeah. If, hopefully we got have somebody trying a title they wouldn't have tried otherwise.
yeah,
From us raving about it. But on to our stack for the week.
yeah.
The first one for me is a title that had, speaking of The Walking Dead, uh, the same, of course, Robert Kirkman, who wrote The Walking Dead, wrote Capes #1 by Image. It's This is a book about superhero. I think there was a series before this because it seemed like it was a continuation, but it's about superheroes who are employed by companies who hire them, who are paid hourly, or they're paid to be superheroes, or paid to protect. They're like a police force kind of thing. And when anything becomes you know corporatized like that, of course, if it's funded by the government, which this company is, there has to be support for it. There has to be people pushing to pay these people to do this job. And if there's not a threat, there's not a reason to have these superheroes on payroll, then why have them? So it's kind of it's a it's also it's a good look at, if it's a business, if it's something that has to be, you have to have a reason to pay these people. It was an interesting take on it. It was kind of a lighthearted version of The Boys in a way, is what it kind of reminded me of. But yeah, it had its funny moments. I think it's an interesting concept, so it's something that I'll pick up the second issue for.
Interesting. Yeah, lighthearted boys. can,
Yeah,
can
it's
can
very
anything
lighthearted.
not be lighthearted compared to the boys?
That's true. Yeah, yeah. It's a lot less bloody, but it kind of touches on some of the same themes and topics. But of course, yeah, it's way toned down. Yeah.
All right. So next up, I have a book called 1776, #1 from Marvel Comics, and I don't know why I picked this up. Um, I think it's because I was kind of into watching the new Ken Burns documentary on the Revolutionary War. So
Hmm.
I I was like, oh, Marvel's doing a 1776 thing, and I do remember Neil Gaiman doing a 1692 or something like that, or a Marvel Universe type thing in the
Hmm.
past. That was pretty cool way back when. So this was by J. Michael Straczynski, the guy responsible for Babylon 5 back in the
Oh,
day. And so I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And this is one of the most horrid books I've read all year. Um,
really?
yeah, it's really bad. I, the the I don't even know where to start. It's just the uh, the concept for them going back into the past was just so was really lame. It was just once again like somebody woke up Morgan Le Fay from Arthur times, and she wants to cause trouble and during the American Revolution, and somebody from the past kicked Ben Franklin's ghost into the future to talk to Doctor Strange, and things got worse from there. And it was really bad.
Wow.
and and I was like I almost didn't I almost put it threw it out like halfway through. I was just like, wow, I can't believe how bad this is. And I, I I I geared down and finished it just for you folks, so you don't go out and buy it, because really this is the problem with Marvel Comics in DC to some extent. Like they really putting out some really bad stuff, and this was a perfect example of how bad they can get. Hopefully, the rest of this will be good news. All right.
Wow. All right. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for all the listeners, but that's not the first and only trombone. It will make an appearance again. At least I know for me, I don't know about Jared, but
No, I'll be all right the rest of the podcast. So.
okay. Well, there's at least one more for me, but okay. The next one for me is called Ferocious. This is number one by Mad Cave Studios. It's a story about a small village, this fantasy setting where there are these creatures or people that are these barbarians, like these raiding type of creatures that everyone's afraid of. And this creature, this person, this barbarian comes in and wipes out a whole little village. There's a survivor, which is a small boy, and he wants to take revenge. But when he tries to take revenge, it's, of course he has no chance, but he tries to take revenge. And the outcome isn't quite what he expected it to be. So this first issue is a lot of setup. It was, I'm wondering where it's going to go. I think it might take a darker tone, and I think I might dig it. So I'm going to. I wasn't over the moon about this issue, but I think it has some potential. So I'll check out the second issue. It was enough to bring me back, and the first issue was a lot of setup, but it was enough. So I'll check out number two.
Cool. I think who's that from?
Mad Cave.
Mad Cave. Okay, awesome. Well, my next book is also Mad Cave, and it's also a book that I think, in a similar vein, it had interesting things that made me want to check out the next issue. Didn't like really blow me away, but I was very interested. And this is called Liquidated Number One, from Mad Cave by Peter Milligan, who wrote a lot of quite a few DC Vertigo titles back in the day.
Oh, okay.
And so it's good to see that he's still working. And yeah, I dug this issue. I dug the time travel concept in here. I thought it was pretty neat, how somebody, is part of an agency, and they had to, when you time traveled, you had to kind of adjust yourself to the period by, you had to kind of like have a focus, and have your body had to adjust to itself to the period. And I like that concept, and I like and I don't know, I'm a sucker for late 19th century period setting stuff as well. So um and just the little clues he threw in there, about books and stuff like that don't belong in the time period and what have you. I thought that was pretty neat. Um,
Mhm.
so it was pretty cool. Like I said, it didn't blow me away, but I'm definitely, my interest is peaked, and I think I'll check out the second one just to see how it goes.
Sounds pretty similar to what I had said about it too. It wasn't fantastic, wasn't mind blowing, but I do like the concept. I think it's has some room to do something new and original.
Yeah, and I like that Mad Cave is trying new stuff. So
Yeah, there's some Mad Cave that just does not work for me, but
yeah,
I'm glad they take swings because it may not work for me, but it may work for someone else. So,
right.
so the next one on my list is called Final Boss number one. It's by Image Comics. This is basically a 1980s action movie fan's dream. It's about a man who is paid to be a hero slash vigilante. He's a freelance, gets paid for gigs, and goes out and roughs people up and does things for people. And he ends up going in. He ends up finding other avenues to make money. And it's over the top. It's ridiculous. The artwork is very 90s, very '90s image, which I enjoy. I like. It's nostalgic for me. I actually did like the art a lot, and the art is done by Tyler Kirkham, who is also the writer, and
Oh, okay.
David Miller. And I really like the artwork. Unfortunately, the story didn't work for me. It just felt kind of clunky. I'm not a big action '80s action or the top movie fan. Like it's not my cup of tea. So unfortunately, it was not for me. And so while I think it would appeal to some people, it wasn't bad. It just not for me. So I will not be checking out the second issue, unfortunately. But if that sounds good to you, I recommend checking it out because, like I said, it doesn't work for me, but it might work for you.
Tyler Kirkham, he's been around a while.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, yeah. All right. So next up, I have Adventures of Lumen N #3 by James Robinson and Phil Hester from Dark Horse Comics, and this this issue made me glad I stuck with it, and um, I really enjoyed this issue. It's a lighthearted adventure. Um, the kind of like it involves Captain Nemo from Journey from the Jules Verne books, and it involves his granddaughter as well. So it's not like dark or deep or anything like that, but it was a lot of fun, and I like the way Robinson was incorporating that 19th century literature feel into the story, and you got dirigibles over Paris and stuff like that, and so it's just really neat time period stuff. Like I said, I'm a sucker for 19th century settings, so this has all the makings of that kind of adventure story if you like that stuff, and the artwork's pretty decent by Phil Hester. It's light. It's not like super dark or super detailed, but it definitely gets the job done. And the this third issue, it's only a 4 issue series, but
Mm.
this third issue ramped up the action to really prepare you for the ending, and I just liked the way it went. I liked I was kind of on the fence with the first issue. The second issue sucked me in a little more with its history and stuff, and then this issue has me sold. I'm definitely gonna get the last one. So I'm glad I got it. Glad I stuck with it.
Nice. That's always a good feeling. And usually, I think issue 3 is one of those pivotal issues where things have to start kind of
Yeah,
coming together.
yep. Good stuff.
And speaking of issue 3, the next one for me is Good as Dead, #3. This is, of course, by the Laphams, Maria and David, which huge fans of if you're new to the show. And so this issue has a lot of character development. We learn a lot about the dynamics between the different families that are involved in this story. We have some clues on who may be responsible for things that have happened so far. I'm trying to be really vague to not spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it. And this was still a very, very good issue. It seemed the tone was a little quieter this issue. There wasn't as many huge events. It was more of a what I felt like preparing for the next issue. The next issue I'm expecting to be off the wall crazy. It's still a fantastic issue, still a great series. It just didn't quite edge out my pick of the week. So it's still very good. Uh, some great moments. Learned a lot about the characters and about the bridge and the crime that happened on the first issue and some of the other things that happened. So yeah, fantastic issue, but not quite pick of the week. So still very good. Love the artwork. Love the writing. All of it's great. And I did find myself this week at the comic book store, and there was a guy there who was he was getting back into comics. He just gotten his degree, and I heard him talking to the one of the people in the store, and I was just kind of poking around looking for whatever. And he was looking for books recommendations, and of course, the person in the comic book store was like, "Read, Batman, and read, all the Marvel and DC stuff." And he walked away, and I told him, "Have you do you like David Lapham?" I recommended this book to him. So, and I recommended Conan and some other stuff that we read here. But yeah, so spread the word. That's one of the things that can help is spreading the word.
Yeah,
Tell your friends about good stories.
absolutely. And speaking of David Lapham, my next book is American Caper from Dark Horse Comics. And this book, as you can probably guess, is another crime book because
Yeah.
that's what Lapham seems to be involved in. But he didn't write this one. He only drew it,
Hmm.
which is crazy. He's a busy guy these
Yeah.
days, and um, so it's interesting because it's written by Dan Hauser, and Lapham did the pencils and the layouts, and then there's a lot of other people involved with coloring and lettering and stuff like that. But it's interesting because Lapham really has he can change up his style, and depending upon the book he's working on. And it looks like this book he changed it up enough to allow somebody else to come in and really have the colors pop and
Hmm.
really do different things with his artwork than what he does on his solo stuff,
Hmm.
and so you see that difference, but you can still tell it's him. You can still tell it's his stuff. He has a distinctive style, and
Yeah.
that doesn't go away. But as far as the story goes, this was nearly my pick of the week.
Wow.
It was really good. It had that these kooky characters that seem they seem like real life people, except they have that bit of over the topness to them that puts them a little bit beyond real life, And there's a lot of commentary here on, um, you know, getting sucked into conspiracy theories and
Hmm.
that kind of thing. So if you're digging that kind of stuff, if you're despondent about how conspiracy theories are run rampant through society, then this may be the book for you because it has plenty of that where there's commentary on it and there's characters who are involved in some of it and get sucked into it
Hmm.
um and then there's but then there's but that's all the surface stuff, and then there's something deeper going on in as far as the crime goes, and there's it takes place out in Wyoming, and so there's cattle barons and stuff who want certain things to happen politically, and so
Hmm.
it's an involved story. It's pretty good. It ends on a really um, chaotic and crazy note, as we know that can happen with a Lapham comic, and
Yeah.
you can tell why David Lapham has associated himself with this story because it's right up his alley. But
Hmm.
so really good stuff. I would definitely recommend checking out number one, seeing if it's your cup of tea, and I'm definitely going to be checking out number two when it comes out.
I missed that one. Completely missed that one.
Yeah.
So my last one before we get to our picks is a book that I've been on the fence about for a little bit, and I had some hopes for, which is "It Killed Everyone But Me," number three. I tried to hang on to this one. The setup for this one is it's about a woman who is in her like 30s or 40s. When she was in college, she was with some friends at a cabin, and all everyone else was killed but her. She's the only survivor. But of course, there's this dark secret she's been keeping, and everyone thought that she killed everyone, but she didn't. And the thing or person responsible was still out there. Fast forward 15 to 20 years, and these murders start happening again. So they come to her, the authorities come to her for help to solve these crimes. And it this I really I hung on as long as I could. We talk a lot about cost of books, and there's just the way I see it is, and we've talked about this before, is if you're sinking your weekly budget of comics into a book you don't like, you could be missing out on something else that's really great. So unfortunately, this is the issue that I can't do it anymore, and I just have to throw in the towel on It Killed Everyone But Me. And yeah, so
Wow.
lots
We've
of
had a
trombones this week.
we've had a few of those this week. I think you were complaining a couple weeks ago that we didn't have it. You couldn't use that button, but
Yeah, I miss you. It's
you got a
great. I
lot of
love
play
using these
today.
buttons. Yeah, I'm wearing that button out today. I'm making up for it this week. Unfortunately for me,
Yeah.
but no, even though things don't work, things don't always. It's not a series you keep up with. At least you give it a try. So,
Yeah.
but I tried. Didn't work. It went just a very predictable, and yeah, I just didn't. I just didn't. A few pages in, I was like, yeah, this is done. This is not good. So, but anyway, with all that said, let's get to the good stuff, which is our pick of the week. And Jared, what
To
was
the good
the
stuff.
top of your stack this week?
Surprise, surprise. We have pick of the week Conan the Barbarian, number 26 from Titan Comics. And I admit I wanted to choose American Caper. It was pretty close. Um but but I had to go with my favorite after a lot of debate back and forth. And the reason is because this is the start of a brand new storyline. So this is
Hmm.
actually a pretty good jumping on point for anybody who's afraid to, jump into a number 26 in the middle of a comic book run. This is actually a brand new story, brand new jumping on point. Um, and written by Jim Zub and drawn by this guy called Dagnino. And he is another wonderful artist that Titan just keeps churning out. They're finding the artist. I'm telling you that much, and they know what they're looking for because this guy's pretty good too, and it's uh, it's fantastic. The coloring, the everything about this book is just I just love it. Like I don't know what it is. I just can't get enough
Oh
of
wow.
these books, and they're doing everything right at Titan Comics. And this is the story of Conan um, when he's later on in his life, when he's starting to build a name for himself as a mercenary, and people know who he is, and he's a captain of a mercenary band, and and he's getting hired to do things, and he's starting to become a political player in the excuse the term Game of Thrones going on here, but but and it shows there's a lot of politicking going on between Aquilonia, Tarantia, Zingara. Those names you see on the Robert Howard map whenever you open up a Conan book, and I found it fascinating because we all know it's no spoiler and no surprise that eventually Conan becomes a king,
Mhm.
and this is, I think, the beginnings of where you start to see his leadership capability, and I just really liked how Zub approached it and started showing that off, and I am really looking forward to the next one. Can't wait.
I saw the cover on a another review channel, and the cover is fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh, I saw a different cover. Okay.
yeah. They always have two or three different covers for the regular issues.
Yeah, so the one you have is Conan on a horse. I saw one
Yeah,
that he's behind a wall. Oh, there you go. Okay, there's a few different variations of
yeah,
it.
it's like 4 different covers.
Okay, yeah. Oh, it's great covers though, all of them.
Yeah. And there's also the extra back matter in these books that are always interesting. They always give you a little extra information about the topics and the time period and the places that Conan goes to and stuff. So
Hmm,
love it. Just love it.
nice, very nice. So this week, my pick was No Man's Land #3. It's by Image Comics. So I found this one a few weeks or last month when I was sick and I was trying out different titles, and I'm glad I tried this one out. This is a story about a murder that happens on an ice bridge between the United States, which is in Alaska, and the Soviet Union during the Cold War. So each country sends an agent over to investigate, and they have to tread very carefully to not piss anyone off and create a this an escalation and potentially all out war because of tensions between the two countries. They're both trying to figure out who killed this person and why. In this issue, the two agents work together to investigate clues. They go through clues and they try to figure out why this person did it. You start to learn more about the ritualistic angle of the murder, and there's some very disturbing and gruesome things that that are revealed in this issue, and the symbolism and the reasons behind it. And I think it was this is basically it reminds me of True Detective in the 80s during the Cold War in cold weather. And the artwork is fantastic. The writing is great. The artwork does a great job of giving you that oppressive feeling of the environment and the cold temperatures. If you feel like the environment and the weather is a character in and of itself. So fantastic series, really really good if you enjoy detectives and political intrigue and that sort of thing. It hits all the buttons for me. So really really good series so far, and it beat out Good as Dead 3, so it must be very good.
Yeah. Are there any polar bears?
Not yet. Well,
Oh,
actually, no. Actually, there was. Yeah,
oh, good, good. Okay,
and
that's
yeah. Also in this issue, it describes it also goes over history during the time period that it. In this issue, they discuss what happened to the natives when America bought Alaska
oh,
and how they treated the native people who lived there and the brutality and the ways that they tried to change their way of life and how they tried to you know bring them into their ways of life, and it was all very interesting. So it has history sprinkled in a really cool way. It's interwoven into the story. It doesn't feel like you're reading a history book. It's actually really neat. So
oh, cool.
yeah, really really well done. You learn a few things. So, all right, so we'll get now to our read of the Frank Miller run on Daredevil. This is of course available on Hit, Libby, or Hoopla. So if you're short on cash,
I'm broke as shit.
this is a great way to get some reading in and read along with us. This week we are discussing issues 171 and 172. Lots of Kingpin and gang wars and this sort of thing.
Yeah, this is the stuff. I mean, this is the stuff that I was hoping for, right?
Mhm.
This his involvement with the kingpin and the whole all the stuff that goes along with that. Yeah. Uh, I found it funny. 171 starts off, from it was the cliffhanger from the last issue where he fell into the dump truck and he gets
Yeah,
out of it and he's like the first thing he's worried about after getting out of that whole situation is, oh, I gotta go to work. And I'm like, okay. But
he's dedicated.
yeah. So um and then he puts on this kind of this alias, this shades alias, kind of on the nose with the
Yeah,
with the
yeah. I
thing.
wonder who that is. Yeah,
and goes to the same bar and beats up the same people, and looking for information in this very similar way. Uh, I find it funny that whenever a superhero in the 80s needed to go get information, they would just go to the nearest CD bar and beat people up to get it.
Yeah, that's the way to go. I need information. I'm gonna go to the bar and rough people up, and someone will know.
Somebody will know. But yeah, it's kind of funny stuff. Funny stuff. But I really liked how I liked the Kingpin angle of the story, and I like I like how Daredevil was just kind of an irritant,
Mhm.
like a monkey wrench in the works. Like he wasn't the main foe of the Kingpin, even though the Kingpin was his main foe. The Kingpin had bigger things on his mind,
Oh yeah.
so that was pretty cool, and I thought I had a pretty cool ending. Um, and it looked like Vanessa died,
Mhm.
right, with all the shenanigans going on. Yeah, and
It yeah.
then the next issue, 172, the Kingpin takes over. He's all pissed off, right?
Oh yeah.
We find out that his boy there, Lynch, is the one who ended up killing Vanessa. Um, and and a whole bunch of stuff goes down. Bullseye gets defeated again.
Again, he's good at getting his
Uh,
ass kicked.
yeah, and the Kingpin, but the Kingpin actually kind of wins, right?
Mhm.
Um, I thought it was I thought it was a little on the nose that Daredevil kind of walks away like, "Yeah, you win this time," and he's carrying Bullseye. But I was like, okay. But and then we get the little epilogue there with Vanessa's alive, but
Yeah, it looks like she doesn't know who she is or what. It seems like she has some kind of amnesia. She seems very confused.
very confused
Oh,
right now.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But I'm more interested in what the Kingpin's going to do next. How he's going to run this empire now that he's retaken over things, and that to me was the more interesting stuff. And let it not be, um, of course, we shouldn't forget how that I think the artwork's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn good stuff. So that's a pleasure to read when you get that really really good line work, really good stuff.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Daredevil talking about needing to go to work. I think it was, I forgot to mention, it was either last week or the prior week. He sees his partner Foggy he sees him asleep at the office. He's like, "What is he doing here?" He never works late. He never like stays over and works late. It's like, so your partner's a loser. Like he doesn't work. He's like leaves like spends the least amount of time at the business as possible. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, the we talked about this before we hit record, but the Daredevil again when he defeats Bullseye is like, "Hey man, I saved you, and you're supposed to be different now." And of course, he's not going to be different. And as far as the artwork goes, I really love the solid color backgrounds that Miller
Mm-hmm.
does. There's certain like in the room, and I think it's 172 that they're in the like a boardroom or like and there's a black background, and the way he uses shadows, and it really
Yeah,
brings the characters and the action really to the forefront, and it accentuates what's happening on the page. I really like the solid color backgrounds that he uses. It sounds basic, but it really works in the way that he uses the different colors, purples and yellows and oranges and things like that. It really pops, and it's really clever.
yeah, that's a great point. Because you said, like you said, it sounds basic, but it's really not because he's using it in such a clever, subtle way.
Mhm.
Um, it's kind of like when you look at a Picasso painting, you say and you think, oh, anybody can do that. It's just a bunch of boxes or whatever. But there was Picasso knew how to draw a horse before he went into this abstract stuff, and I think Miller's doing that as well here. He's not that he's a Picasso, but I think he's doing I think he's doing that here because we've seen the evolution of his pencil work and his artwork over these past what 10 issues or whatever,
Yeah.
and we've seen the evolution of how his artwork has transformed, and we've seen how he can do the basic Marvel stuff the Marvel way, but his artwork is evolving where he's experimenting with those very palettes and those very use of space that that looks basic but actually is accentuating certain things that he wants us to see, and it's really is cool to see that evolution of this artistry.
Mhm. Yeah, I know we talked when we first started the this book that it seemed a little slow, and as it goes on, it seems like he comes more and more into his own, and it kind of his style starts to really evolve. So
Yeah,
yeah, I really like some of the panels and some of the things he does with his art, and the way that he uses colors and highlights, and the ways that there's like a neon outline, and there's neon shadows, and it's really, like I said, it sounds like boring, but if you, it's really not. It's really clever. I think it's really great.
yeah, yeah, good stuff. So I think this is the end of volume one,
Hmm.
and we're going to be getting into volume two um,
Okay,
for the next section of this
nice.
run.
As a whole volume, I'm not sure that it's. If I just picked this up, it might be. I guess there's a certain amount of issues in each volume, but it's just. I'm not sure if it's a great place to end a volume.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just do it by number of a chunk of issues or
Yeah,
whatever. It was similar with the X-Men ones.
yeah, that's true.
They just ended weirdly on whatever, however many they could fit between a couple of hardcovers.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they probably just look at the number of issues and slap them in. So
Yeah.
yeah, but still, yeah, not too bad. We hope everyone else, or we hope someone else is out there reading along with us. And of course, if you'd like to discuss it with us or send us what your thoughts on each issue or things that you notice, please let us know. There is a link down below in the description to send us a message. Or, of course, you can come over to the forum and talk with us there about things you notice or things you want to discuss with us. Come by and say hello. And I know that this weekend is Thanksgiving for those of you who are celebrating. You're into that sort of thing, but hope you have a great holiday. Jared, do you have any big plans?
Just cooking a turkey. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, I'll be at work, so
Oh,
but it's okay. It's all right. So yeah, we hope if you are celebrating, hope you have a great holiday. Stay safe out there, and until next time, we hope you find your pick of the week.
bye bye.